morning. I'd like to call to order today's April 16th County Commissioners meeting. If we could do the invocation.
Well, Lord, again, we just come humbly into your presence today to ask for wisdom, direction for this County Commissioner Board. We thank you for them. We thank you, Lord, they're willing to serve. Father, we know that times are tough and they need a lot of wisdom and direction in the decisions they make. So we thank you that you would help them in all of that. Lord, we do ask that you would bless and minister to the family of Lonnie Dickinson, Lord, and God, that they would experience the comfort of God in their loss, and Father, our loss as a community. And so we ask, God, that you would just minister to each and every one who had a relationship with him that, Lord God, mattered. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions or changes to the agenda? Go ahead.
Under old business, can we talk about possible hiring freezes during budget time?
Okay. Any other additions or changes? Can I get a motion?
I move we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
I got a motion that's properly seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that we want to pull from the consent agenda? Go ahead.
I guess I just have a couple questions about the cooperative agreement between the DOT and the county.
So pull that.
Did you send down the tax roll correction too?
Yep. Commissioner, did you want to, Vera, do you want to look at this or do you want it explained?
I just wanted to talk about it for just a minute, I guess. Do we want to do that now?
Yeah, we.
Okay. I guess my question was, this increase, I know we've had it for a while and we were looking at it. And I know we're going to talk about the road out there. I guess my concern is, as it goes on, are we going to keep signing these every time they send one to us, that the price has gone up? I mean, is there, since I'm kind of new to this whole situation that started before I got here, are we obligated to keep signing these increases because we agreed to it originally?
Well, I mean, we're obligated for any changes to have to sign that we approve the changes, but I mean, at some point the discussion becomes is how much are we willing to,
Yes.
are we willing to accept the changes or do we stop the process? I mean, if there's a better explanation. Certainly.
If we keep signing the increases, to me that kind of puts us in a situation where we're obligating ourselves to keep to keep accepting these increases no matter how long it takes them to do the work? You know, what if things keep getting put off and, you know, every year that price is gonna go up and our money's going down every year, it seems like. So I just wanted to know everyone's thoughts on that.
Well, unless a commissioner disagrees, that it's either we agree with it or we don't, and then we have to figure out what the next step is. Obviously, prices are gonna go up every year. We don't have control over what YDOT increases, but, I mean, we can certainly discuss it and figure out where we wanna go from there. Limit their scope of work somehow, but.
I'm just trying to pick up what you guys have, but if you have a contract with the Department of Transportation to do a certain project, is that what we're talking about? We need to go back to the original contract to see what the obligation is, what we expect of them and what they expect of us. And at some point, you know, there should have been some kind of understanding like this is going to take 2 years to complete, and then if it keeps getting extended past that 2 years, then potentially they could be in breach of contract. And so you could at that point say, well, we want to do something different here. So it would really go back to the original contract and what you guys opted with them to get this done. Certainly, you know, projects go longer than what's anticipated a lot of times in contracts, and it allows for that to keep kind of going. But it kind of goes back to perhaps what Chairman Taylor said, is at some point you need to decide, you know, is there a violation of the contract you guys entered into, and or are these increases something that changes your obligation under the contract? And if so, then do you try to renegotiate or try to get out of it? So.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Well, just so the public knows, this is the bridge over the Burlington Northern Railroad out here on County Road 1, and it's since May of 2021 when we originally assigned the deal. And this is a 90-10 split. It's 90% federally paid, 10% the county owes. It was $4.5 million roughly, and it's increased $1.7 million since 2021, May of 2021. So 3 years. So it's at $6.25 million right now. Total, that's not county share. Ours is 10% to replace that structure. But I think that we're not bound until the day they say it's time to go, personally.
Go ahead, Jeannie.
It might be one of those questions that since you guys do have this new amount and this new increase, you know, writing a letter back and saying, hey, do you guys have an anticipated completion date? Because this keeps adding back up, and we need to know what your thoughts are when this is going to get done, so that you have a better understanding. Like, okay, they're telling us they're going to have it done in a year, or they might be talking 10, and then maybe that's some other area where you just have to reevaluate and say, okay, what else can we do now? Because it keeps going and going and going.
We had them in front of us. Thank you, Commissioner, for that explanation. We had them in front of us with those same concerns. Go ahead.
And at the last minute, if we do decide to pull the plug on this, all we're gonna be out is the engineering fees.
Engineering fees.
That's all we'll be, is the engineering fees. That's all we'll be on the hook for.
And probably 100% of them, right?
Yeah, I would expect to be if we pull the plug on it, we'll be liable for 100% of the engineering fees.
Do we know what that cost is right now? It
I
hasn't all been completed yet, right?
Probably in there.
There's projected engineering costs in here.
Commissioner Todd, what was it when we first, do you remember? I don't remember.
I don't remember what the objective engineering was. I do know that if we followed through with the project, they carried 90% of it, but
Yeah.
I don't recall what the objective was.
Thank you.
It's been 2 years ago. And it's probably gonna get more expensive.
Yeah.
But if the public wants a bridge there, you know. And I see an argument on both sides.
Engineering, we get construction preliminary. This would be preliminaries. The
Go ahead, Commissioner, sorry.
Even if we go ahead and go forward, then if that doesn't bind us to anything, would it be advantageous to us to have Jeannie or Michael look at that contract to see what is involved, excuse me, as far as what you were saying, that if they go out too long, that could be a breach of contract on their side, or
We'd be stuck
or
following
something that
and our
might
sheriff's gonna do that.
protect us.
So it's
I almost bet you Scott would probably answer his cell phone. And he could probably tell you. If you're, I mean, we're not in any danger of it happening tomorrow, but
Do you want me to call him?
So I think in the original contract, it states that it can go up a percentage, and then there's a cap of what it can go up. It states that in the original contract.
I would feel better if it does.
It does.
The question that I had is on the,
Hey Scott, this is Commissioner Taylor. How are you? I'm in Commissioner meeting. Can I put you on speakerphone? Hold on. You're on speakerphone, Scott. Sorry to bother you, but we had some questions we thought maybe you can answer.
Okay, I'll try.
All right. Go ahead, Vera.
Scott, can you hear me?
Yes.
My question was, we're looking over this letter to sign, and I have a concern about, it's gone up so much. I mean, I'm worried that we're gonna get so deep into this on our, even if it's only 10%, that we really have to look realistically at doing this project. Is there a cap on how much it can go up?
Okay,
Rose project.
can I ask, what project are you talking
I'm
about? The bridge job or the roadway job?
The bridge, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, and it's the new amended agreement, right? Because it went up, yeah, okay. It's pretty much designed now, so there's probably not gonna be much more, you know? If it gets delayed anymore, could inflation affect it? I can't, say either way, but hard to predict, but that's where we're at. Would it be capped? No, to answer your question. The cost of construction, and if there's any more design to be done on it, it's not 100% design, and we're not 100% plans, but it's getting closer. So there is going to be more preliminary engineering on it, to answer your question, and cost of construction could affect it, but no cap.
I got a question, Scott. On the, what is the county's responsibility percentage-wise of the preliminary engineering costs if we were not to do the Bros project?
If the Bros project got canceled, the county would be on the hook for the 100% of the preliminary engineering.
Okay, so by the looks of this, the preliminary engineering is more than our total match for the project. So
Probably, yes.
we
I don't
would
have
be,
it in front of me. but
I'm looking at
yes.
718,000 for the preliminary fees, and then the county's match of the total project is 594. So it would cost the county more money to not do the project than to complete the project.
You're 100% correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Scott? Commissioner Todd, did you have any? Okay. Thanks, Scott. We just wanted to ask that question while we had the chance.
Sure.
All right.
And I think you folks are discussing the roadway project today too?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I'll look forward to hearing about that, so.
All right. Thank you, Scott, for your time.
You bet, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm not sure it cleared it up, but thank you.
I'll get that original one to the attorney's office.
It's clear as mud.
It is clear as mud.
Any other issues with the consent agenda? Can I get a motion?
I move to approve consent agenda.
I got a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Right.
Sign it all the way back.
Sit down that way. Moving on from the consent agenda, do we have any public comment? Is there any public comment?
What is the option for your bridge work if you guys don't, if it's not completed? What's the option then?
Dead end road.
It's just a dead end road. that
Yeah,
we
and I'm not
put
sure.
there.
The problem is Burlington Northern is underneath that. I mean, what we end up with is a bridge that's outdated
Right.
and used until somebody tells us we can't use it.
Right.
But you also have the Burlington Northern at play here, and I don't know what would happen if we ended up in some sort of an issue with them.
Are they helping with the cost at all?
They don't do anything unless the Almighty tells them they have to, I think.
So it's partly their bridge and they're not helping?
Well, they drive under it with their
Oh,
locomotives.
they drive under it. It's
Yeah,
not across.
yeah.
I'm not sure.
They, in this project, right now, part of it is there's 2 tracks going into that bridge. The new bridge is gonna end up be mandated to be longer because they need more room. So when it gets updated, you have to follow their standards, which is gonna be room for 3 tracks under there. And financially, the county will be on the hook for at least $718,000 for the preliminary engineering. If the project goes through now as it is, we're $600,000. So
So it's,
we'll save, I mean, it's
save $100,000.
it's stupid math, we'll save $100,000 by doing the project. You know,
Okay.
Any other? Oh, go ahead.
Did the county think about just taking the bridge up and just making it a regular crossing instead of doing a bridge?
Burlington Northern will let you.
Yeah.
the Burlington Northern will not allow a grade crossing there. It has to be a bridge. If there's any way across the track, it's gotta be a bridge there.
And it is interesting that they can dictate that, but yeah, it was looked into. And
Because down here they blocked the road, but out there it's only a single track, right? Isn't it only a single track? Because they never blocked it to be a bridge, but they always blocked it. Hear that? Oh.
all right, moving on. Dan, Val?
Paul.
Paul, sorry, bud. Paul, come on in. Osage Road Maintenance. Thanks for coming in, first off.
Well, first off, I'm here as a concerned citizen, not as a school board member. I want that clearly stated in the minutes, please. The whole reason that I decided to ask you guys about the road maintenance was the school district had problems with one of the routes in Osage. The buses were having problems with the rutting and different things. They're afraid they're going to tear it up, and they wanted to reroute to go down the school hill. And as somebody who's rocketed down that hill several times in my life in the winter, I understand that it's not fit for a sled, much less a bus. And so I voiced those concerns. They're no longer gonna plan on changing that route. I mean, when the concerns were raised, they decided to stay with the route that is as it is now. But the problem remains that there's ruts, there's mud, they're gonna tear a bus up. And the last I knew, and I apologize that the last couple of weeks have been insane. I wasn't able to get in and go through the records like I've done before. I used to remember the date of the meeting where the commissioners said they would take over the roads in Osage. They said there was only X amount of miles, they would maintain them, and it was in the minutes. And then once again, I'm going off of what I've been told by others and what I remember. When they were maintaining one of the roads, they hit either a manhole cover or a water line. Whatever it was, it made a mess, and the county threw up their hands and said, we're done, we're not gonna touch the roads in Osage anymore. Well, what piqued my interest a couple years ago when Mr. Clyde was shot in Osage, I believe it was the newspaper in Newcastle here reported that the sheriff said he was killed in a public alleyway. Now, if that's a public alleyway, I don't think the county ever relinquished the rights to those roads. And if they did, I missed the meeting to where they did relinquish those roads. So this was more of a, I just wanted to ask the commissioners where it stood. I don't know, I haven't dug into it. Like I said, it's been a crazy couple weeks. I don't know. I didn't know if something had changed or if I'd missed the meeting where they had relinquished the roads, but there is a process to be followed to, you know, abandon a public road or right of way. So if we're in limbo, it would be really nice to get it figured out, just because we have our kids on buses, and I don't say this just as a throwaway thing. I don't ever want a kid to get hurt because of a bad road. I don't care who's responsible for taking care of it. I know budgets are tight. Believe me, I get it. But I would really appreciate it if you all could look into it, find out, if nothing else, what we would have to do to try to get that stretch up to par, to where it's safe and we're not worried about hanging up a bus or getting stuck or sliding into something. Because at the end of the day, if we hurt one kid or have an issue, that's not good for anybody. That's one of those things that you can't put a price tag on it. So I appreciate you taking the time to hear me out today. Whatever you find out, great. I mean, I wanted to make the commissioners aware. I know we've got some new ones. I didn't know if anything had been done to actually resolve the situation. Like I said, it just stuck in the back of my brain. So here we are. So good luck.
So after you called, I did go up to that road, and it's pretty treacherous, even dry. I don't know when that meeting was. Obviously wasn't part of the board then, but I appreciate you coming in. I don't know where we stand with Osage Road. Maybe Commissioner Wagner or Commissioner Todd know. They've been on the board a little longer, so I'm not sure.
Osage is a sewer and water improvement district. So at the end of the day, whatever those county commissioners decided, and I think you're correct, Paul, they decided that they would maintain some of the roads, and I think you're accurate. One of the manhole covers is over. And a bunch of people threw a fit, and the county ended up incurring the cost of that manhole cover, and the board at that time said no more, we're not going to do it. So I think what you have is a double-edged sword here. You got a road that's within a population of individuals similar to a subdivision that isn't necessarily, they're a public road, but they're not a county maintained public road. So, but there is an avenue to fix it. But I think you have to go through if I'm reading the statutes correctly, you have to go through the Board of County Commissioners to help establish a tax amongst the people in that service district to help maintain those roads. Now, I also might be correct that it might be illegal on some avenues to just start maintaining those roads with county funds. I don't know that that's necessarily legal either to do that, because I mean, we might open up a can of worms there with every other district in the county. So I think there's avenues to fix it. I certainly do, but I don't think that sending county blades right away is the right answer.
Like I said, I just know when I read in the minutes that the county said they would maintain them, and then it stopped. I know that there's a process for the county to undo that. I didn't know if that had been followed as per the letter of the law, or what the avenues were. I'm not an attorney. I'm not here trying to make headaches for you all. My only concern is I do not want to see any child get hurt or a bus get tore up because of a road. I mean, whatever we've got to do to get it taken care of, I would suggest we do that. And that, like I said, that's just me as a citizen. Because if we have to, as a county or whatever, legal fees aren't cheap. We all know that. I mean, we can all be adults and come to some kind of understanding for the greater good, I think. I hope. That's all I'm asking for. And I mean, if you've got somebody that can dig through it, I've done it once before in my life, and I just don't have the time right now. I don't.
Go ahead.
I don't think anything that a board did 25 years ago can bind another board 25 years later either. So my assumption is nothing was done that was done, I'm guessing it was done on a handshake and says, okay, you know, we understand some roads need fixed. I don't think it was done legally, probably. It was probably just said, let's take care of a little bit of it, and the
Then it
good old
would
boy
be time-
system, the common sense system that, it, you know.
Then
is-
it's time to get it clarified to where everybody
Yeah.
knows where they stand.
And there's an avenue,
I
I
mean-
think.
Go
Jeannie,
ahead, Gene.
So Commissioner Todd asked me to look at this just before we started the meeting a little bit on the water and service district concept. So there is a water and service district that's been established, and like they said, it's kind of creates somewhat of a subdivision concept where, you know, because they're not technically a county road, the subdivision concept applies, and so that water and service district makes the decisions for that piece of property. And so it sounds like from, you know, the agreement a while back that they would just take care of it. Sounds like it was kind of just a, hey, let's just help out, let's try to get this fixed and get something going. In order to legally establish it, it would either be the county establishing that area as a county road, which is a process. You have to go through a process to create a county road and what that might look like. And then at that point, it would fall back to the commissioners in the county to maintain that and oversee the costs. With the improvement in service district, it does allow for, it says, with the approval of Board of County Commissioners, establish and collect charges for the use of any improvement to cover the cost of operating and maintaining the improvement. So the commissioners could potentially decide that they want to have a discussion at one of their meetings where they say, we want to establish charges to those that are in the service and improvement district that would create an assessment that they have to pay. They could ask the county clerk then to create an account where those individuals that live in that area pay charges into that fund. It's kind of, you know, when you pay property taxes, it's kind of that same concept. Like you just get an assessment if you guys decide that that would be the case. And so then that money could be collected, and then it takes the county commissioners and application of the district to kind of decide how that money is going to be used. So I think maybe two options. One, the county could decide that they want to create a county road and label this a county road, which then would fall directly to them. Or they go through this service and improvement district process where they potentially could decide that they want to start assessing charges to the individuals that live in that area. That money would then be collected and then could be dispersed to, you know, cover some of the costs of whatever they might have out there. So I think that's what the process would be and how they'd want to handle that.
Jeannie, is that on a per road basis, or is it in its entirety of
Yeah.
Upton? Would it be an assessment on the entirety of Osage, or would it be per road?
It would be inside of the established boundary set by, the surveyed out, is where that district would be.
it's probably the same as the dump district, right? Probably that
No.
same boundary? It's
No,
not.
they're different.
It's different.
Yeah, but if you did decide that you wanted to establish an assessment for that district, then that money would just be collected. And you could make a point of saying, hey, we want this first set of money that's collected to go towards the road. And that would require essentially because the district has a board of sorts. And so there would be some discussions with them like, hey, we've set this assessment. We think it needs to go here. You guys need to probably say it's going to go there too. And then we'll kind of move in that fashion.
Why I'm asking it is because if it's a designated bus route and we say, you know, we're gonna, not that we have, but if we say we're going to do this on the bus route, I mean, for obvious safety reasons, would we assess it that way, or?
No, Ed's right. It's
Okay.
for the entire district area. So you can't just say, well, it's just this road that's within the district. It's the entire district area that would be assessed. And they would just go towards whatever was decided.
Is there still a board for the water and sewer in the district?
Mm-hmm.
So your board's there.
Right, and I wish I would have known about this meeting, but there is a lot of research, and I've done it for years and approached a lot of different boards. The issue is that the Oil City Road is actually a legal county road through Osage. And it goes up Sheridan Street, which Paul's referring to. And the other part of it is, I have a lot of paperwork here, and I wish I would have known, because I would have made a copy for all the board members. But Title 34 says that all unincorporated towns, you know, or over the underseer of Eden. The county says that all the road's been legally vacated. If that's true, back when the Nefsey brothers vacated it, then the county had no right to grant easements. So who's, we're kind of throwing stones at a window. So if they don't legally own it, you can't establish that. But I've looked a bunch of it, and the only way I think that we're gonna resolve this issue is actually look into this but 24-3-125 says you guys are the legal overseers of all unincorporated towns. And that's where we fall different than another district, so.
Well, now that I've showed up and stirred it up and made it really clear for you all, I apologize, that wasn't my intention, and I
No,
do feel bad that, if I would have known that Joe had done all the research and stuff, I wanted, more than anything, I just wanted to make you all aware that there is a concern there, and hopefully we can come to a resolution, because, like I said, if it's just X, Y, or Z, I don't usually get too worked up, but when it comes to hauling kids on a school bus, I mean, that to me should be a priority one. So whatever we gotta do to get things taken care of, I think it would be best just so that everybody's on the same page, I guess. But I appreciate you taking the time to visit, and now that I've made a lot of work for everybody, I'm gonna go ahead and skedaddle.
I'll make you a bunch more of these copies, but I'll give these ones to her, so.
Go ahead,
I'll go
Commissioner.
make a copy and then go back.
The problem with the statute you just quoted, Joe, though, is it has to go through the county road process. And what you're referring to is the process, which you guys could do, you could start that. But I don't know that that's ever been done, because every time I've ever looked at a county road book, those are not county roads. They're, at least when I look at them right now.
But
I think
in
somebody
1924,
said,
they discussed, the state statute says, of all unincorporated towns, the commissioners of each county would be the legal overseer, which gives you the right to grant the easement or to vacate or whatever. That's the obligation part that's an issue. And you can't grant an easement on something you don't know. So if all the streets were vacated in 1920 or whatever, that means the county didn't have a right to own them to grant the easement. So that really
Go ahead.
I don't think the county ever said that they owned any of the roads, did they?
in 1924, the county bought all tax delinquent property in the whole county. Then they sold the property. It's hard to sell property without an easement to it. So that's another problem. So I have a bunch more.
I honestly think the easiest, instead of going into the weeds, the easiest way to fix it is either the county road project or the avenue that Jeannie was discussing, and which either way it's going to cost taxpayer money.
But the road issue for Sheridan Street, that is a legal county. And it's on.
Commissioner Todd, is a question. If I'm understanding this right, the first step would be just what you guys were talking about. There would have to be an assessment on the road to determine a cost, and it would go back to the district. And are the people willing to do that if we were to evaluate?
Right.
That's the other thing is, you know.
I think the first question is, or at least the thought that the commissioners need to have is, one, do we want to create a county road? Or two, do we want to use the service and improvement district process, like we said, and make that assessment to the owners in that area? And so I think that's the first discussion between the commissioners at some point is option A or option B. If you go option A, then you go through the creating a county road process and do that thing. If it's option B, because there is a service and improvement district already established, it's not necessarily a question to them in that area whether they're gonna agree to an assessment or not. They kind of buy into that when that service and improvement district happens. So it becomes an issue of what assessment do you guys feel is appropriate, and then do you set up an account with the clerk so that that money can go into that fund. So, and then, then it becomes a question of, well, if people live in this service and improvement district and now they're getting assessed, do they want to still live there, or do they want to buy, it's all decisions that everybody has to make. But I think that's the process. You decide A or B, and then you decide if it is B, then what assessment is established.
I got a question for Gina, but either way, either avenue, doesn't that have to be initiated by the residents of that district or that area?
No, because, well, if they want to make a county road, then yes, that would be something that would be initiated by the people in that part of it to approach the commission and say we want a county road established, and then you start that process. Because there's already a service and improvement district established, that's already been done. So now you got this improvement and service district in place, and you can, as commissioners, per the statute, dictate if an assessment's going to be made. So that's not let me ask everybody what they think about it. They already bought into that by creating that service and improvement district. And that's why people do that in areas where they don't have county or city infrastructure. They set up these service and improvement districts so that they can meet their needs, like maintenance of roads or water or whatever that might look like. So there's not a lot of buying into option B because they've already bought in because they have it. And then it's just a matter of the assessment if that's what you choose to do.
So we as commissioners, we can say we're gonna assess everybody X dollars and they have to pay it.
Right. Otherwise it becomes delinquent and then they can go through that process. Yeah.
All right, that don't sound really fair.
Yeah.
Another,
We gotta wrap this up, but go ahead.
on those issues on the Cedar Street, that's the old highway, up to Osage Newcastle Highway. That's been a legal established county road. The other roads, Sheridan, the Oil City Creek Road, Oil City Road, that has been. So it's never been vacated but the issue is that road is, and then we can just move on forward from that. But I don't know whether, just because we came in an improvement service district, where did we all of a sudden get obligated to own the road? Because you guys are the ones that are granting the easements and the vacates to legally. So my understanding when we created that district is this district had to come in front of the board to get that right, and we've never done that. And we researched that with a couple of the lawyers, but so that's the issue is we do need to move forward on this and figure it out. But
Well, we appreciate your comments on this, and Paul coming in. I guess he's already stepped out, but we'll consider this. And it sounds like you guys need to maybe consider what your options are as well. But going from there, go ahead, Commissioner.
Anyway, your board could visit with Farnsworth or somebody and see what an assessment might look like for a cost to repair those roads.
we are looking into some of that on, this mineral royalties grant and work. But see, that's our dilemma is that the statute says that you guys are the legal overseers, and that's where, to get the money to fix the surface, we need to establish who owns the surface.
Joe, could you figure out that number? I mean, could somebody figure out that number? And then if you have that number, then we might be able to move forward with an assessment on the district then for you guys. Or we need to figure out something else, I guess, down the road.
Right.
But you might have a pretty big hill to climb to get the rest of the county to agree that it's everybody else's issue, the road, the streets, and the town, or the community of Osage. So.
Could that assessment be done on a one-time basis, like just to get it, the road is a wreck, there's no doubt. Or can that be done, a one-time assessment where the county blade goes up there and fixes that particular road that they've routed? Or does it have to be always after that? Is it always that way?
You could do it as a project assessment, or you could do an overall assessment. My thought is there's probably other issues, I mean, there's probably other issues that are gonna pop up. So maybe you make it a longer term assessment, but again, the fixing of, if you have the assessment that you do, then it's a matter of who's gonna do that project, right? And so whether it's some private company that goes in and fixes the road, or I don't know, if the county could do something like that. I mean, it kind of puts things a little less clear. If you got the county fixing the road, but then you got the assessment, I don't know. I mean, it might all work, I don't know. But I'd have to think about that piece more, but you could make it just a specific project if you knew how much that was gonna cost, and then figure out the assessment and then divide it among how many landowners you have. So you could do it that way too.
Okay.
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.
Thank you for everybody's input. Moving on, a little bit behind the budget adjustment discussion, and it's rough.
Morning.
Morning.
Scott Beechler, Weston County Coroner. So, visited with Becky about this a little bit yesterday for sure. But if we take the salary off, we still have 78, 71, 93. Current bills are 6,276. That leaves a balance of 1595.93. If we take what's going to be due as far as facility rent and morgue rent,
And
we
your
end,
thing today.
right, we'll get that.
Okay.
We end up with 505.93 left. So, just there. But I do have an autopsy in Rapid at noon. So you're looking at a possibility of another 2,500 of that. And I have not purchased supplies yet that I have on the budget. And I'm getting really dangerously low on body bag. So that would probably be about 1,500 to get the stock back up. So the needs are around $4,000. Those are immediate. So I'm not sure what to ask for beyond that. Because I don't know. You know, what, especially the autopsies. That's what we just don't know about. And those turn into in the neighborhood of $2,500. As far as other supplies, I don't see a need for that unless we end up in a real mass fatality situation. But there's nothing else pressing that I'm aware of.
Go ahead.
I got a question for you, Scott. The autopsies, are we required to do autopsies on every death anymore? Or
No.
what's the criteria? Because it seems like in the years past, we've just been, every year, be getting more autopsies and more autopsies.
Partly, I think probably the biggest reason is we've gotten into a very litigious society. So you can't guess anymore. So if there's any question in between myself and the physician, let's say the primary physician of the individual, if we can't be real sure cause and manner of death, we're not signing the paperwork because we end up in court, and that's way expensive. So that's why we're doing that more. So just for an example, today, the reason we're doing an autopsy is because we don't know exactly what happened here in the crash. Thinking that probably there was a death before the crash, but we have to verify that. Then also younger people. It's kind of a standard. Anybody under 65, unattended, without previous known health issues, you do an autopsy. And if there's any question of crime, suicide, accident, you're going to do an autopsy. Child, infant, you just want to make it. But that's why there's more. Yeah, if we could, I'd definitely try and get it signed without an autopsy. And also, we ask the family. If I don't necessarily think it would have to be, we ask the family. Because then all of a sudden, if they're like, well, prove that's what happened. Well, you can't without an autopsy. So, we have to work with them as well. And that's why in my paperwork and reports, I always have either that the family authorized, that we don't need to do an autopsy, or that they would like one.
Are we taking all of your supplies out of miscellaneous? So
Yeah, that's where I was planning on it.
all of this money needs to go right into autopsies.
Yeah, the 1,500 of it, we could say is in the 18 here. But yeah, really, I need it all in autopsy. Yeah, because we're deficient there, and already took I think a couple of $100 out of another line to cover mileage for autopsy.
And that 2,500 does that for today's autopsy?
That will be for today's.
On top of the 6276.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So roughly 8776, roughly.
Yeah, and that's, again, I don't mind coming back if that's what we need to do, if we get more autopsies, but however you feel about that.
With the, what do you guys want to do? What he has to have is roughly 8776.
That's 3 autopsies. It only covers 3.
Well, he said his expenses are 6276 plus today's autopsy is at 2,500, right?
No,
Oh, okay.
no,
Okay.
no, with the bills we have in
Right.
play right
Just
now,
your-
I still have $500 left,
Oh,
okay?
You're out of autopsy money, and with the bills expected the rest of the budget year, you've got $500 left.
Right.
To do all your
And
autopsies.
so I know I need one autopsy of 2,500.
So you're 2,000 upside down then. So,
And your initial ask, Scott, was 4,000.
Yeah, that's just because I have the supplies added in there too. So.
open your crystal ball and tell us
Yeah,
how many autopsies there's going to be.
I haven't got that perfected yet. I'm not expecting to, but yeah, it's last calendar year was definitely busier, I think, than it had been a while for coroner calls. Period.
So I let him know, we'll do this adjustment, and then every department, I let them know if they're about out of funds, And then the first meeting in June, we'll do another budget adjustment for each department, because a department cannot spend out of their salary. So they have to look at their budget and set their salary line item to the side, and then that is the amount of money they have left. If they're over, then they have to come back and we'll do another bulk budget adjustment in June. So I let Scott know he can do his budget adjustment now, and then if he has to do another
The other
one,
do it
if he
first.
has more autopsies that he's not, you know, anticipating, then we can do another budget adjustment in June.
And just for a heads up, which I'll be working on in the budget part here, Rapid will be out of commission for doing autopsies by the end of the year. So we have either Billings or Lander. And price-wise, I'm pretty sure Lander is going to be our best bet. Also, it keeps us in Wyoming. And even now, I think it's probably a wash because it's through the Fremont County Coroner's Office instead of through a hospital. So the hospital gets extra money. So, but adding the miles, it's going to be real close to the same. I'm just saying, we're going to be changing it up a little bit. So you'll see a bigger figure for mileage, you know, type of thing. And I will probably need to put my deputy actually on call. Now, going to Rapid, I just let her know I'm going. And if a call comes in, then I decide from there. Am I close enough to make it back, or do I just send her out to go do it?
So, right now, 5,000 would cover today's autopsy and one more. 7,500 would cover today's and two more to get you till the 1st of June. My question is, what do you anticipate? I mean, the way things are going, what would get you by?
So if we went by last year, I'm going to need those. But just like right now, this fiscal year, okay, from July 1st of 23, I've had 7 autopsies. So, and the last 3 calls this calendar year, they've all 3 been autopsy calls. Because we had a 40-year-old, a 29-year-old, and now this crash. So it just really depends on the situation.
I guess to keep things moving here on track, I'd make a motion to do a budget adjustment, $7,500 into the coroners for autopsies.
Out of financial admin.
Do we have it in there left, out of the financial admin to cover that? And then the 1st of June, we'll reassess if we have to, if you got left, if there's still money left, or if we have to add more to it, just for the autopsies.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I second.
Discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
That'll get you by.
So. Lonnie and I are heading around.
So you're on.
Yep.
Moving on to old business.
No,
No?
attention will be taken.
What's that? Attention. Oh, addition. Ladies and gentlemen. Morning. Good morning. Floor is yours.
Okay, so, I'm sure as Becky showed you, our medical, I think we're already 8,000 and some in the hole. I just want to kind of give you guys some figures here to kind of give you a perspective of how this looks. As you know, a lot of our budget is based off the inmate population, some of our budget items. And as you know, that's kind of hard to determine. But 2020, we had 139 inmates. 2021, we had 166. 22, we had 132. This year, I have 191. So that's 59 more inmates this year than previous budgets. So the other issue we have is, what did I do with it? So our medical right now, just for this year, we've had 2 inmates for 2 ER visits, or an ER visit for each inmate, $7,000. That's just for 2 inmates.
And then you got another one that's on a medication. What's that? Running?
So I got a separate guy. So I'll give you these numbers and then I'll break those down. So ER was $7,904. Just in dental, that was almost $2,000, and that was just for 3 inmates. And then medications that we pay for, or the county pays for, is almost $2,000. The one gentleman I have in there for a 1-month supply is $565. Now, if I keep him till our next budget, well, there's $1,200 just to refill his prescription. So now I still have, again, I have a guy in Cheyenne. If I have to go get him, he's going to be another medical nightmare as far as budget-wise. So basically, what I'm asking for is $13,000 to that'll take up, because right now I think with everything, I mean, my past report was $8,000, but I think with everything that hasn't been turned into you guys yet, I think I'm at $11,606 in the hole right now with what you guys should have coming across your desk. So.
Haven't you guys heard of catch and release?
Well, I mean,
that's funny, but we do a lot of that. To be honest with you,
a lot of that. I mean, you're not wrong. I could give you an example. We had a guy that we kept from Upton, a $20 fine. We billed Upton $120 some just to keep him. So tell me how that makes sense.
So
we do look at, to answer that question, there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, not in the way you're, I know you're joking, but we look at what it cost us, right? So if we've got an inmate or a warrant that's out and it's $100 and he's in Evanston, I'm not going to clear to Evanston to get him. So I don't put that warrant out, but just Weston County only, so on and so forth. So we really look at
we do try to mitigate some of that to the best that we can.
If there's a crime victim, then we go to all ends to deal with that. But when you're talking, some sort of citation or game and fish violation or something like that, we're very, very careful on that, because not just the cost of getting them and feeding them, but then you run into these issues. Mm-hmm. They get in there and they think they see free health care and dental and this stuff, and that's where we run into trouble fast.
So no joking on this one. Can't the county attorney go after these guys?
It depends on what it is.
Right. So
it truly does. And we didn't even use the county attorney. We've actually filed lawsuits in circuit court to get some of this refunded, especially if it's pre-existing. So,
but some of that you got to look at too. I mean, you can't get blood from a turnip.
I understand.
And then now you have this legal, so now it's just a revolt. Now we're going to get him because he's failed to do this. Well, where does the county cut its losses?
That's a judicial thing.
Yeah, that's way above our pay grade.
Do you refer, like these ER visits, is that something you refer to are you going to refer those forward and see?
So no, if it's an ER visit, that's in custody.
Oh,
that's statutorily we're
so what
required
about
to do
dental?
that.
That's I would assume.
So dental's a tricky one.
You bust their teeth out, right?
Yeah, dental's a tricky one because you could have an abscess, let's say, or something going on. He tells us at the last minute. A lot of times we end up having to do that ER anyway because we don't have emergency dental. And then they'll say, yeah, he's got to go to Rapid City for surgery, or we've had doctors tell us he's good till he gets out. So we have to follow that. But a lot of times when, depending on when that scenario comes up, I don't have emergency dental here. I don't even have a walk-in that's 24/7. So
That's how we ended up with that
yeah,
one deal.
That's exactly it.
absolutely.
I mean, it's going in our favor,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, that truly is what you have.
Okay.
So that's where you look at that. Do you just do it and say it is what it is, or do you
and
go, well, it's
today's
not?
day and age, I mean, Jason and I talk about this a lot, but over the years, we have made decisions that are a little scary as far as, you know what, we're not gonna spend that money, we're not gonna take them. Today's day and age, that's harder and harder to do, because it's a litigious society. I mean, we're gonna get sued.
Brian.
It's not that I'm scared of that, it's just we gotta make sure we're doing the right thing if that happens.
We brought this conversation up with Michael 2 years ago, if you remember, on collections and so forth, and it does take a lot more work to do. But I realize you can't get blood from a stone, but I'm pretty sure we talked about it back then. Even a judgment, eventually,
Well,
it may
we've
take
got-
a while. We may get some of that back, or the county may get some of that back, but he admitted it takes a little bit of work, and I think that work is well worth it.
It is, and
If we spend the time to do it, because
and it depends on how that comes in. So the ones that we've been very successful on is the ones that we force the medical whatever to bill the patient.
Correct.
And they don't pay, then the hospital comes after us for the money. Those are the ones we've been successful on. We haven't had to pay those, they take the loss. The ones we suffer on are the ones where we go ahead and have to pay it, or we believe legally we have to pay it. You don't win those, so we don't even file those, because there's certain statutory requirements, you know. If whatever their problem is, if we can easily prove it was a pre-existing issue before they came to jail, that's one thing. But a lot of these problems come up and you can't prove it. It happened in the jail, we're responsible.
Might I ask a question? How much of this medical money is going toward gender reassignment medication?
Zero.
No.
Zero. I won't even
Because
entertain that.
it's happening up there.
It,
They gotta have their meds, right? They're transitioning up there.
Yeah.
Down here? No, we don't do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't, we have nobody in custody.
And I'll tell you, I will probably, I will be the one that'll get this county sued for that, so.
Well, and just for some of that, our facility is just not made for that type of housing
Yeah.
anyways. You know, some of these bigger counties have the ability to, because there's different
care how big it was,
classifications,
I wouldn't do it.
different housing sections, you have to keep people separated. We're just small enough, we just don't have that luxury of, you can go here and you can go there, but I can't put you with him because you don't like him, and we only have, 4 sections, very tight living quarters. So when it comes to that, that would be more of a, like I said, we get with Brian, that would be more of a transfer possibly to another county that can accommodate those types of things.
I was just gonna say, maybe one of the best ways to handle this, and I know we have this with the Title 25 issue as well. So when someone gets taken on a Title 25 or an involuntary commitment, the hospital will routinely reach out to that person's insurance or see if they're on Medicaid or something and try to collect it from them first, and then they come to the county. Same kind of concept here with the medical pieces at the jail. The problem that you sometimes have is making sure that the hospital understands that our expectation is they're going to try to collect from the individual first and not just come to us as the first payment option. So it might be time again to send a letter to the hospitals that we utilize or the medical professionals and say, as a county, our expectation is that you're going to try to collect from the individual's insurance or some other way of that. Only in the event that you're unable to do that, then you need to send us the bill. And so that it might be time just to send that letter out.
And we do that when we make these appointments, we let them know this is gonna be at the cost of them.
And just like what Nathan was referring to on the one deal we're dealing with right now, we did exactly that on that one too. And that's part of the problem. Or at least, it's not a problem, but that's part of
part of the issue is that the individuals that we're typically dealing with don't have health insurance, and
Correct.
don't have those things, and so.
And even if they're on Medicaid, Medicare, that ends the second they come into the jail. Medicaid, Medicare does not cover incarcerated people, period.
Thank you. What's the board's decision?
Well, and just, Don, just before that, just to make sure you guys are in the loop, as far as the Board of Prisoners, again, you know, I gave you that 191 inmates. That's quite a bit. With that budget, I'm gonna be coming right in
Really close.
real close.
If not
So
over.
if I get, you know, between now and then, a handful more inmates, we might be having this conversation on that line item. So just a heads up on that. But I think I got it down to be coming in about $500 to the positive, so.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do all these inmates come from our county, or are we keeping them from many other counties?
We're not keeping, if we have somebody from another county, they were arrested here on their warrant, it's a brief period of time. These are our people.
Wow.
Some of them we see on a pretty regular basis, if you know what I mean. Now when I say our people, I don't mean they're born and raised here, but they live here, or camp out here, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, and again, just another statistic here, right now I think we have about 600 warrants out. So, I mean, again, when you think of fluctuation, now granted, some of these are people that live in Minnesota and Maryland, but
they're not
just
extraditable warrants.
But just give you an idea of the numbers we have out there for this county, so.
What's the will of the board?
Do you think 13,000 is enough?
I think that will, because a medicated guy with the meds, I believe we will be sending him to a different county.
Because you're already 8,000 in the hole.
Right.
So that's only gonna put 5,000 actually. Okay.
I'm trying not to just throw a number out there, and I'm you know, trying to do a reasonable, it'll be close.
Because like I told Scott, I'll reach out to you guys again in June.
Yeah.
And we'll see where we're sitting.
Exactly.
Because we'll have to have, well, it will be before June, because we'll have to have another large budget adjustment, just like we always do, for those that are about out of funds.
Yep.
And these are difficult to forecast, obviously. Those two line items in the jail budget are impossible to forecast. I mean, you look at those numbers, you can't even forecast those numbers.
Where can we take this out of?
Financial
Still got,
admin.
it's still a little bit left there. I'd make a motion to move 13,000 out of financial admin into the jailer's, is it
Medical.
medical, detention medical account.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Discussion? All those in favor of pulling 13,000 out of financial admin to the prison account, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, guys. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Working on it. I said 2 years.
Old business.
Yeah.
The CRIP project.
Yeah.
Who wants to start us off? Flip a coin.
Nate,
Alright.
Crip,
Yeah. What do you guys want to do? I mean, we need to make a decision on either moving forward with FDR in it or paving it, and we need to let Scott. To my knowledge, the numbers are where they were a month ago or 2 months ago.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
What is your opinion on this? Because you and I have talked about this before. What do you think about it now?
After talking with Scott, I honestly believe we ought to FDR it. He thinks that you're going to have a very, very good road at the end of the day. And we don't have a concern about equipment for maintaining pavement, future maintenance. Eventually we're going to have that hiccup someday anyways, but with another road that we have, but I don't, the cost to me seems pretty restrictive, I guess, to go paving it.
I was telling the clerk, I had a conversation yesterday with Marty Ertman and her husband. And her husband wants to pave it for different reasons, dust control, which you could say about any road. They agree that the highway is gonna, at some point are we saying we're just gonna do all these roads with the FDR? Or are we gonna pave any? And I don't think there's any good time for it. Now Marty's opinion is it either or, but she felt we had the money in the road and bridge account, which would drain it significantly. So at this point, I don't know. It seems like you said, we're gonna have maintenance on it either way. We're gonna have to chip seal and crack seal a paved road, which maybe that's over a more spread out time frame, or we're going to have to blade and redo or re-gravel or take care of the FDR road. So is there any good time to pave? I don't know. It's an awful lot of money that we don't have right now, so I don't know. Go ahead.
Visiting with Jimmy on it hasn't been that long ago, the last traffic study that was done. Fairgrounds Road going past the fairgrounds has more traffic than Old 85. It's hard to believe that, but that's what the traffic counters showed.
We have more traffic on our road.
That's what I said.
Main highway, I'm on Old 85.
Oh.
We have more traffic on that road than the regular highway a lot of times.
But the traffic counters that they had out showed more. This is just numbers that the traffic counters counted. There's more vehicles going past the fairgrounds than there is going on Old 85. That surprised me. I didn't think it would be that way.
As far as the money thing, you guys are talking about, you ain't got the money. There's almost a mile of that road that you really wouldn't have to do anything except fix a few potholes. And I'm talking about Greenhouse Road to the Railroad Bridge. If they fixed it from Greenhouse Road to Quicks, and then left, and there's 8/10 of a mile, that is a fine. It's not a perfect road, but it's a fine road. There's a few potholes on the lane coming to town. And then down there by Genos, that needs repaired. And then past the homes, there's a big hole. But if you left out a mile of road, you're talking about all this money. That's a lot of money right there. You wouldn't have to. And then you're talking about chip and seal. So whenever the time comes that you got to do that, then you can do the whole road. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know when's the last time you've been out there, but that from Quicks to Genos is not that bad. It isn't like it's all broke and big, huge holes like dips, and you know what I mean? That'd be a lot of money saved right there. If you don't want to pave it, don't do it all. We'd like to keep it paved, And in the summertime, summer's coming up. Your counters, they can say what they want, but I live right along the road. I'm retired, I got nothing better to do than stare at the road. It's campers, motorhomes, semi, it isn't every day, but but it never used to be any of that.
Go ahead, sorry.
Part of the issue with picking and choosing though what we're going to do is a major cost of repairing those roads is the mobilization fees of getting the equipment there and everything there to do it. So that extra mile of road is pretty insignificant when you compare it to the big picture of doing, now we're gonna pick it, we're gonna come in and we're gonna do this, and then wait 5 years, and then we're gonna come back. And whereas if you come in and do it one time, it looks like about $100,000 to the county to repair it to FDR. And if we go with pavement, it's pushing $750,000. And the issue with then picking and choosing what we're gonna patchwork in there is what happens at the ends of each of those patchworks, and also remobilization fees and engineering fees again on top of it. You're just incurring that aspect of it again when you remobilize and do a new section. But I get it.
I mean, that road in between there, I don't know how long that road's been paved. When I first moved there, it was gravel. I think it's been paved over 30 years.
Yeah.
That's 30 years old, because the only thing they've ever done to that road is fill in them cracks. It isn't like that road has ever been taken care of.
Yeah.
And when they did try to fix the ends, instead of having somebody to come in to fix it, that knows how to fix it, somebody that evidently didn't know that much about a road, fix it. And then that's what you got. You know, I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I'm not discounting your concerns. I'm not saying that they're not valid.
And then and if you gravel it or whatever you took, FDR, I don't even know what that is. What is that?
Full depth reclamation.
So that'd be like what's by the fairgrounds.
They'll go in, yeah, I believe we did a section there. They go in, I think it's 16 inches or something like that. They go down, they grind it. They put additives and mixtures into the grinding material, and then they make it. So, I mean, speaking to the professional out of Sheridan, he's saying it's a dang good road when it's done. You know, is it going to have issues? I'm sure it will.
I worked at a coal mine 14 years at Mag. When it's wet, what a mess. It is. I mean, it's a friggin' mess. They did it just to do it.
When you're talking about grinding up this road, okay, are you talking about coming from city limits out there, going around on Greenhouse Road, and then coming down in front of Stiff's and on old Highway 85? Or are you thinking of not doing anything from city limits to Greenhouse Road? I mean, you're talking about apples and oranges here. Are you going to do the whole schmear if you grind it up? Okay, you said it would cost $1 million, right out $1 million, to repave that road. Okay, we get that. All right, to grind it and that sort of stuff, that was supposedly going to cost $100,000. Okay, can we, if you do the grinding of that road, can this cement FDR that they say helps hold the ground up stuff to the road bed better, can you put more FDR in there, that cement solution, to see if it would hold longer, or at least better for a while? I mean, if you're going to grind it up, I mean, Mr. Erdman had said last meeting when we were here that on the west side of the bridge, that he thought why that has held so well is because they really did put a lot more of the cement FDR in that ground up stuff when they put it down there. So if you're going to save $900,000 by just grinding up the road, could we take, say, $100,000 of that more money? They've already tested that road because they've been getting ready to supposedly do that bridge. So Cheyenne has tested that road. Would more FDR, the cement stuff in there, would it hold better?
Yeah.
There's a testing facility in Cheyenne that constantly tests that kind of stuff. To test different road bases and whatever works, doesn't work, you know. And I do believe we're getting the best of what they recommend done to that road for an FDR replacement.
Okay, in the same question again, if you're going to grind up that road, which I think that's the way you're headed, I mean, you keep saying Weston County has no money. Okay, I understand that, things are expensive. Okay, how about those deals there at the pizza barn, those culverts? The culverts are sticking up this high. Mr. Hanson, I noticed, is not here today, or he wasn't now. How are you going to fix that? Because even if you ground up that stuff and you put it over that culvert is still sticking up this high from the roadbed. Okay, aren't you have a lot of traffic backing on that all the time, going to break that up? Well, here we're going to be back to you saying, what?
It's all in the design plan. All that's to be repaired.
So you think
and
Cheyenne
I think they're
will
actually talking concrete box culverts instead of those.
All
Those cement ones?
all the humps where the culverts are, they're gonna be dug out, re-leveled, reset. Yeah,
Well, thank you. That was
yeah, that's in the,
great help.
either way it goes, that was in the project. The culverts were gonna be reset with either new culverts or whatever they needed to do. But either way it goes, those culvert humps are gonna be addressed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you a lot. That'll
Which-
be a big help right there.
Which is bad because everybody's going faster. You know,
Well-
it's a double-edged sword, we get that, you
Yeah.
know. A smooth road, they drive fast.
Well, and I don't know how big of a picture, you know, for me, you know, I worked for YDOT, and a paved road's obviously the first choice. Everybody wants a paved road, it goes faster, whatever, but there's still maintenance to the paved road, the chip sealing, the crack sealing, there's always repair. There's going to be with FDR too, because you still have to blade it for snow, you still have washout, you still have to add gravel to it, you still have to do a lot of different things over that period of time. So are we spending that amount of money on the FDR over, say, I'll just put a number on it, 20-year period, as opposed to what are we spending on that paved road that we pay more for in that 20-year period? So I'm not 100%, me personally, I'm not 100, I don't, that's why I said I don't know the right answer here, but based on funds, obviously want to go with FDR because, hey, we don't have a lot of money, but in the long-term projection of things, are we being penny wise and dollar foolish, and that road's good for 30 years? I don't know. And
And so the bridge,
well, and some of it was, and that's the different opinions. I think that's what the commissioners are saying. We're not saying that we don't want to pave it. We're just saying, looking at our budget right now, we're going, ooh, how do we do this and still make this work? At least I hope. I mean, I think that's what they're saying. So
the bridge is a gone Johnson.
It's happening.
It's not going to happen.
It is happening.
It is going to happen. They're going to replace that bridge. When?
I think in a year or so.
yeah, they're estimating next year, but that'll also have to get widened there too, when that bridge goes in a little bit.
So we're part of the BROS process, which there's a line of people on this list, and we were, say, number 7 on the list, and they had $1 million for everybody. So when they started going down the list, they got to number 4 and said, okay, we're out of money. So now we're number 3 on the list. So I'm assuming this year, hoping this year, they will find there's enough money to get us into the project phase. And I also, on your other question, I think it's from Greenhouse Road to the bridge, right? Is the reclamation?
It's not Greenhouse.
What is the road out there? Just past
It is
the pizza
Greenhouse,
shop?
but they're not doing anything with Greenhouse.
Yeah.
She asked. They're not,
It's
they're
from
not doing anything
that
along
intersection
Greenhouse.
to the bridge and past the bridge is the project area. Does that make sense?
So if you spend $100,000 this year to fix old Highway 85, then next year the state of Wyoming may come up with something different. Because if you're tearing out that bridge, you've got to have heavy equipment coming down that road. Okay, so you've spent $100,000 to regrind that road. Okay, you have that heavy equipment, which we know they've got to have to get that bridge out and stuff like that, and all the traffic. Also people going still to the landfill and that kind of stuff. Isn't that going to tear up your $100,000?
I think they're wrapping it into a one-time kind of a deal. We're gonna hit the bridge and the road, that's in the same process. They're not paid same, I mean, it's completely different funds. The state of Wyoming is assisting with the, it's called a CRIP, County Road Improvement Project. That's the road. And the BROS is the bridge exclusively, and that's federal money. We're getting a $6.5 million bridge for $600,000 on the bridge. The road, we should get, and it will be, when it's FDR'd, it will be treated, the base will be treated it just like it was highway going on top. I mean, it's gonna be a hard road. And that's gonna be about $100,000 if we go FDR. And you know, roughly the paving, you're a little high, but it's getting there to $1 million.
And they're gonna take care of that FDR road.
That's on us, the road and bridge, yeah. And I think once you have a better road for them to maintain, you find out that it's easier for our road and bridge to keep up with it. The culverts won't be an issue. I mean, you're gonna have a pothole still, but we all got potholes. I mean,
Well, I mean, like right now in front on each end of the bridge, it's full of holes. When I get tired of driving through it, I go to the county shop first thing and ask that.
Which is a great
And
thing.
I'm sure you got to come to you and ask to do it.
No, he's got.
Well,
Jimmy's your guy. If you guys got a problem,
well, that's what I do.
Give him a call. Yeah.
I go up there and he always thanks me and does it. But just this last time, they went out and did the dump road. And they drive right over that and just leave it. And I do not understand that. They didn't do a thing to it. They didn't do a thing to patch it. They thought they were fixing. And then big old holes on each side of the bridge. They just drove over, went to the other road. I don't understand that. If they don't do it, I mean, even the guy running the blade, why don't he take the incentive to just do it? You drive right over it, man. You know what I mean?
Dump road. What was going on the dump? You mean the old?
Going to the dump, there was a blade out there.
Just blading it.
Yeah, okay.
They're just doing some blading.
Yeah, well, it was out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're gonna go blade that section of county, the gravel road, and they drove right over the potholes to get to the
why
county
not just
road.
drop the blade and kind of fill them in?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they are deep. You got a crappy road one way and a crappy road the other, but it's shorter if you go up to the bridge. You know?
And in, I'm sure in Jimmy's defense, I mean, they're on a schedule of when the roads are done. You're right. It bothers me when you see a snowplow with a pickup truck with a snowplow on it and they're driving through snow and they don't drop the blade. But that's not the way it kind of works. They're scheduled to do certain roads. And if they stopped at everything to fix it, they would never get to the point where they're on the schedule of what they are keeping up with, if that makes sense. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what they're doing. And Jimmy's pretty good at scheduling that stuff, you know, as best as he can with the resources that he has. So.
Yeah, isn't that going to be a lot more work for them, that FDR road? I mean, won't you probably need more equipment? And then if you say you don't have the money for that.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, over a period of time, I don't know if it would be more, in the long run, if you just get it done once, maybe that's the answer.
Yeah.
Again, we'd have to figure it out, you know. Every blade has an hour per use dollar amount you put on it. It costs, you know, I'm just throwing numbers out, but $112 an hour or whatever it is. And they're figuring all that in their budgets and how they work.
How many
things.
blades do they have here?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
There's 6 or 7.
I think they got 7 usable and they got kind of one that's a spare.
Yeah.
I want to tell you where I'm basing my opinion, I guess, on the road. I contacted the state, and the state guy said, honestly, I think you're crazy going to pave it. You'll have an FDR road that's going to be a great road. He said you're not maintaining other paved roads in the county, and you're probably going to cause yourself some issues. And he said by the time we get this FDR road done, you'll have a great road. And I mean, he's a professional. I'm not a road guy. That's why I lean on people that do it for a living. So.
Well, the question is, when do we get the grinding and the FDR stuff done? That road, if you guys have been out there, is terrible now. Are you thinking 25, 26, 28? I mean, it needs something now, not 25.
Yeah, I think what can happen now is Jimmy can continue to hopefully patch potholes, and hopefully in a year we see progress on that bridge and that road.
Because isn't the price gonna go up so much more? You know,
It could.
Oh, man.
It could.
We ain't got money to do it.
But the
now.
good thing with the road is, I believe the funds are there for the road. So, and it may turn out, you know what, they have to bring in some heavy equipment to get the bridge fixed. But, I mean, if I had a crystal ball, you know, I don't.
Is that bridge that bad?
It's been, I mean, it's over 100 years old, and I think they determined it's okay for travel right now, but, I mean, they said it's at the end of its service life. If it was up to me, I'd probably leave it.
Is there some way they could kind of divert some of that traffic in the summertime, maybe somehow?
We've talked
I mean,
about
I've had people stop me. I've had people
Yeah.
stop me
Yeah.
out mowing my yard and ask me where they're at, and I go, just go, keep on going straight. You're gonna run right back into the same road you came in on. If that makes any sense to you.
It's,
Well, no, it don't. But
we've been in a constant battle trying to get Google Maps to not divert people on that road. We've pleaded to the YDOT and then people, trying to get this off the Google Maps so they go all the way to the four-way stop.
because it can't be, but what, another mile or two?
Well,
maybe?
they usually go farther by the time they get out, they come out of Greenhouse Road, then they come back to Newcastle and get gas.
Yeah.
So they're going, in the big picture, they're going more miles, you know, but that is we've been fighting with that, trying to get Google Maps to not use that route.
Because they haven't built that road
Yeah.
at all. I mean, just, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, a semi was out there stopped in the middle of the road. So then he starts backing up. He was clear past the bridge
Yeah.
from the highway. He starts backing up, and I went up and said, "Are you lost?" He goes, "Well, I'm not sure where I'm at." He was gonna back all the way from there, put it back to the friggin' highway. And I go, "Man, you can't do that."
Because if they're going to Custer, if they're going
Because
east
they
out
turn
of,
on Greenhouse Road.
if they're going
then
east
you
out
know
of
where-
town, it'll divert them down Old 85 to Greenhouse
Yeah.
because it's a mile shorter.
And how some of them campers get around that corner, I don't have a clue, because that's not a very, and you can see the culvert's all smashed. But I just can't even, I wouldn't even do it, but they do it, I guess.
What y'all think about a speed limit signs out there, anywhere from Pete's Barn on? That would be great.
There is one out there laying in the ditch.
Okay, see?
And
That would
there
be
ain't one
sweet.
on the other one.
Yeah.
I believe they were gonna do a study on that.
Yeah.
They were
And maybe
gonna work
past
on
them
that.
homes out there, maybe they could knock it down to 30, and then maybe they'd slow down to 50. Because if it's 40, they're going 60 or 70, and that's no joke.
That's no joke.
That's no joke at all. Not everybody, I'm not saying everybody.
But the people that don't know the condition of the road fly down that road.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but there's a lot of locals,
Okay.
kids. I don't know why that's a big thing to drive down that road, turn around and go back. They do it all the time. Which, whatever, it's a road, but.
I guess I'd like to say my opinion about the road. I think it's a really hard decision for us to make, because we of course want to please you. We want to do the right thing by you, but we also need to responsibly look at our budget, overall budget. And there may be money in there right now to do this road, but then we have to think about if we have some flooding or anything like that we all of a sudden have a whole bunch of road repairs or bridge repairs, then we'd be in trouble overall in the county.
I mean, I'm all for that FDR thing if they can make it so it ain't so dusty.
But right now, I was out there yesterday. I drove out there yesterday on purpose to. We've got to do something in that one spot by Jenoff's.
Yeah.
If we gravel it or
even-
something in the
it's
interim,
terrible.
these people can't wait for 2 years. It's bad.
Well, and I think Jimmy would go And
It's really bad.
We know because we slow down for it, but Greg Gregory was telling me he was out last summer out in his yard and a camper went by pulling it, or just a camper, had a bunch of bicycles on the back and he heard a racket, turned around, every one of them laying in the road.
And we'll keep,
Because they don't know. So I asked, well, why can't they put down a road damage sign? Well, the boss at the county shop said, well, that makes them liable for it, is what he told me.
well, we'll keep working on the Google thing and trying to get them to put some kind of sign up. Because we know too that might help. I mean, let's try to find something that'll help in the interim while we're waiting for them to get us to the top of their list. We're kind of at our wits' end about that also, but I do know that that section is really bad and something needs to be done.
Because we know to drive on the wrong side of it.
Exactly.
If you drive on the right side, it's terrible. It really is.
So what's the decision of the board? Do we want to go FDR? Do we want to pave? I need a motion for either so we can decide this. Commissioner?
I make a motion to allow YDOT to proceed with FDR on Old Highway 81.
I have a motion. Oh, yep.
85, yeah.
I have a motion and a proper second. Any discussion? All those in favor of FDR, raise your hand.
Aye.
Motion passed, FDR. We will get with Jimmy and see if he can get down to that area if it needs work. I'm sure that he will. But like Commissioner Todd said, Jimmy's more than willing to help if he knows about it. So reach out to him. We'll reach out to him and follow up with him. But, he'll get it done. So at least you know what he can. Go ahead.
I'll, and just for peace of mind, I'll visit with Mr. Taylor and see what, like a time frame, and if you don't want to come to the next meeting, I can just announce it in the minutes and what they're looking at for hopefully getting it completed.
So hopefully before 25.
I'm
Not
hoping.
25.
Don't hold me to it, but I'm hoping, yeah.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
Fellers and fellettes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clerk update.
Okay, so, I just need a motion made by the board to, so I have to have a motion every election year of what I'm paying my election judges. And I'm just gonna keep it the same as the previous election, $10 an hour for my election judges. And then they get, $5 per meal and they get 2 meals. So I just need a motion made by the board for that, please.
So moved.
Thank you.
I have a motion.
Second.
A motion properly seconded. All those in favor of hiring election judges at $10 an hour, $5 for meals for 2 meals. Any discussion on it?
Wish we could pay them more. But they're happy to do it, so if at one point in time, if we get to the point where we can't get election judges, we might have to make it a little more attractive for them, but at this point in time, we can still survive there. Let's do it.
All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Hi.
Question, since you're talking about election judges, are you going to have more meetings to certify election judges?
So I only have one, and then if for some reason they can't attend, then I will have another one.
Because I need to be in it, on it.
Yeah, I let any special districts know that are having elections, I let them know, and then they can come and attend those meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
When and...
I have no idea.
Oh, you haven't?
No, I haven't said it. It'll be later.
Okay, thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
All right, Vera.
And it would have been interesting to see how many votes may have changed because of Gordon's actions. because of the response of their communities after those bills were passed, specifically the gun-free zone bill, I think that we would have very much seen a change in votes on that one. I think you would have seen more nay votes on that than you had before.
So you're saying that that some folks were counting on the governor veto in that one?
I very much 100% think that especially school districts, courthouses, places like that were banking that the governor was going to go, no way are we letting guns in these areas. And I think that their response afterwards may or may not have swayed some of those representatives and senators to vote a different way because the response was strong.
Well, we mentioned last meeting or maybe the meeting before, I can't remember, when we were discussing the budget, it was kind of brought up, what about a hiring freeze? And I know that is not a popular thing to talk about. It's pretty unpleasant, but I'm wondering if because all these budgets are going over and we have all these expenses right now, I'm wondering if we should put a temporary hiring freeze on until the new budget time in June.
I can't right now. I'm right in the middle of election stuff, and I do need to find someone for my office, so that won't happen in my office.
Well, I guess it would happen if we vote on it.
The other issue isn't the sheriff's department still short-staffed?
Yes, it's mainly just him and my office.
I get it. Believe me, I do. I just don't know. The other issue that we have is you say hiring freeze, but that doesn't stop raises that continue to happen, and with those raises comes higher benefits, and I don't know.
Question for Becky, how are you sitting on overtime numbers right now for your department?
We don't pay overtime. There's no overtime.
No
And it's
overtime.
already in my budget for this person. Actually, I have extra in that line item.
Yeah.
Because I haven't had anyone for the last couple months, so I just need to find someone to fill that position. So I would not be over in that line item at all. I would have extra to put back in the budget.
Okay.
I'd be in support of hiring freezes for new positions, but for filling the existing positions, I mean, we've got to keep those, we've got to fill those positions. I mean, it's my opinion. I mean, if the sheriff's, if say we put a hiring freeze on, the sheriff loses 3 deputies tomorrow, what do you do? He's not putting any new positions, and any new positions I'm against, but filling the positions that we have, I'm 100% on for filling them and continue to fill them.
Go ahead, and then I'll.
Yeah, I mean, technically we're budgeted for those positions already. It would be any other that came along, but we aren't budgeted for increases necessarily, and we've had a lot of those.
My opinion is, just throwing it out there, anyone that's in overtime, and I did talk to the sheriff, he is in overtime, so that's costing us more money anyway. So those positions, I believe, should be filled, but anyone that's not in overtime, that means you're accomplishing your workload with the people that you have. My thing is that those line items, if I'm wrong, Commissioner Todd, please tell me, but those salary line items, even though you're right, they've been budgeted for their full capacity, but those line items can't be spent on paper supplies and those things, so it would carry over to the new budget, which is why I'm absolutely thinking this next 3 months, we've talked about it a little bit, and like I said, I don't know all the right answers, but if we were talking about, let's maybe put 11%, 5%, if we do this, we're pushing money forward for the budget for next year without having to use next year's budget on overages, which it's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other, and I think we put a limit on the hiring to anybody that is using overtime needs to fill that position because it's more money, but anybody that isn't, we freeze it until after June and we carry that money forward.
You know, on that, if they're in overtime or not, we've all seen it in our own jobs, our own work. There's times, yeah, you're shorthanded, you're not paying overtime, Yeah, you're surviving. You're not getting the work done like you should, but you're still, oh yeah, we're surviving, we're not paying overtime. And you're just pushing things back. So,
And I don't disagree with
you know,
that.
by not paying people overtime, you're just pushing some of your problems further back to become a bigger problem further on the overtime side of that. That's my take on it.
Any other comments? Go ahead.
I have no issue with a motion that would halt new positions for sure. I think that, yeah, we're too close to the new budget cycle, but I mean, I'd be afraid to know what that might do. But the other thing that people also need to be aware of is increases right now are going to push us tighter and tighter until the next couple months. But I mean, if that's what you're kind of thinking, Vera, I don't know what your overall thought process is.
I guess my overall thought process is to put the brakes on a little bit. With all these increases, everyone coming in and needing money. As far as a hiring freeze on new positions, I think we've kind of had that in place already, and I think we should probably continue that. That doesn't mean someone couldn't possibly hire someone, but they need to come in and talk to us about it to see if it's actually viable.
And the other thing is, I understand Becky's position too, but if we're talking a freeze until June, elections are not in June. I mean, yes, there's a progress to that, but that's not saying that after that new budget's out, that we release that and you're on about business. Now, Brian told me it takes 3 months for him to even hire a person sometimes. So even if he lost a deputy today, which I don't know if he's here, he said it would take him a little bit to even get him on.
My election stuff starts in May. I'll be hiring someone as soon as I can find someone.
The only thing I would add to this, I know that the county attorney's office, one of our part-time secretary is leaving, and we're getting ready to hire someone to fill that 20-hour position. I think that would put our office in a bind as well. We wouldn't be able to get to things as fast as we do not having that position filled between now and July. Just to add to that. We don't use overtime either for that position, but it would just like put some of our projects back a little bit with that.
What's the will of the board? I absolutely respect everybody's opinion, but the comments, sometimes we all make stupid comments, but to say I'm doing it anyway, that's not gonna fly either. The board decides the budget, so I want you guys as a board to decide what's best. An individual department head does not overrule the commissioners on hiring, so I want to make that clear. Yep.
I do believe, though, that we gave her the approval to use her budget initially, and you know, it's within her budget right now. She's not asking for more money.
No, she's not.
I think that Ed's right on some other than Jeannie, that if we cut them back, things may get pushed aside that need to be done.
And that could be, that's what I'm saying, I don't know for sure, but ultimately the budget is approved by the commissioners, and that is in control of the commissioners, not the elected official. And that budget is in totality, it's not in, I'm deciding, it's not like the handbook.
And for the record, I didn't say I was doing it anyway.
You said you will be hiring someone. That's what you said. Go ahead.
We already approved her budget for this year, and that position is in her budget. She has every right to hire the employee that's in her budget.
We can still suspend that.
Yeah.
And that's not because I want to, just whatever decision we make, I'm with. It's up to the board.
Something I'd like to add to this discussion, I've been noticing every year, obviously when we get to the tail end of our budget cycle, things are, get interesting and are tight. If we cut on the front side, we're going to notice it right where we're at right now. Something to consider to maybe improve accomplishing a solid budget is initiating a 3-month period, maybe prior to the end of our budget cycle, that annually just forecasts where we're going to be every year. Not to say that that couldn't be overlooked or overturned any year, but if that was in place, we would maybe for new hires and a few other adjustments that we added to that time frame might help us improve where we're at right now on the final end of the tail end of our budget cycle.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
In Becky's defense, I do believe that she does a great job.
She does.
Every year when we come through the budget process, and she gets a lot of hate, and maybe not hate is the right word, but she gets a lot of grief from different departments on money, including us, and it's not an easy decision to make being in her shoes. And I want to thank you for doing that, Becky.
Thank you.
I think you're right, Commissioner, absolutely right, and she does do a good job. I'm just, no department is above that, what that is. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we ask, our Jeremiah Redmond and say, do we have that ability? But I'm sure that we do. I mean, everybody's included in that deal where we're trying to save money. So if it's something that the board votes on, then I'm totally for it. But it's almost argumentative to say, I'm going to do this when we're thinking about doing something else.
I don't think anybody on the board here is arguing with that point, Don. I don't know where, I think we're getting into some weeds that we don't really necessarily need to be wading into.
Agreed.
I think that at the end of the day, she is in charge of creating a budget. This is the money we have, and she does a very good job of keeping it as tight as she possibly can, and gets a lot of grief over it every year. And end of the day, I don't care how good you are at it, you're gonna have mistakes, and you're gonna end up being short somewhere. And maybe you're long, in a perfect world you're long, not for the taxpayer, but I think that I'd like to move forward, and I think we're doing fine where we're at.
And I don't disagree with you, Commissioner. I think you're right.
I think from a legal perspective, the commissioners could certainly suspend hiring, but I think because you've given that department head the budget to operate for their year, they in some way already have been awarded that to fill, to use throughout their time. And if they choose to fill a position and they have the money, I think that's appropriate. I mean, I think you could probably say we're going to put a hiring freeze on hiring any new employees. That's completely appropriate and legitimate. I think you could potentially say, yeah, we're going to do a hiring freeze on filling any current positions. But my question, because you've already awarded that department their budget for the year, as long as they're using their budget as they've been told to do, whether that be for a salary person or a copy papers or whatever, to me it seems like it creates an issue there that you probably just don't want to have that way.
Very well.
I think we can just keep going with what we have on the hiring freeze for new positions, because that's pretty clear to everybody. Speaking to what Garrett said, I guess that's what I was bringing up the other day, or last weekend. Geez, time's going really slow and fast. Last meeting, wanting to meet with the department heads, going forward early in the process, maybe 3 months or so before budget, meeting with them to discuss what their next year looks like, to discuss what they're really going to need to do. And so we have a clear picture. Becky does a good job. I'm not saying anything to that. But ultimately, it's up to us as commissioners to approve that budget. And I think we could make great headway if we preemptively look at things and plan ahead a little bit more.
I agree. Okay, what do we want to do? So we're just going to keep what we have. We won't make a motion. We'll just continue the freeze.
I guess it's something we can talk about again at budget time if Jeannie and like everybody says it's budgeted for now, I understand. And we'll have to look at those numbers realistically when it comes down the pike and see if we may have to do something at that point.
New business, we don't have anything under new business, do we? Public comment, is there any public comment? Go ahead.
Public comment or new business?
Oh.
Well, the improvement service district is putting in, and water district is putting in for a mineral royalty grant. And it's required by the state to do that, to get a letter of verifying, showing the dollar amount the district is collecting for assessments. And, but that's not much assessment because we don't have an assessment, but that's referred to in that, on this. But we need a copy of the commissioner's resolution that shows the formation of the district.
We have that. Actually, what we're asking you for is a letter of review.
And that's a requirement too on this for mineral royalty grants. Almost, if any of the specialty boards that come in need for the mineral royalty grants is to fill the statute out. It's part of it.
And I have the letter already typed up, so I'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting. However, when I was typing the letter, it said the commissioners approve everything that the board was asking for. So I asked Joe to come and explain what they're asking for. So he's gonna tell you guys what you're approving, what you're supporting, so that the letter isn't just you're supporting what they're asking for. He's gonna explain what they're asking for.
And I didn't know whether you want to do that now or during the next meeting, because I know you guys are running long now, so.
There is a time element to this too,
But next,
Oh, sorry.
I think you should give us an explanation of what's going on. We're here.
yeah, this mineral royalty grant is for the sewer lagoon. For whatever reason, when we built it way too big for the population. So then we're running into an issue of that, of the size of it. And then now we have an issue of, which we got testing going out to find out how come our lagoon is in
So what
the
is
color
red?
it is now. Yeah,
The nice color red.
yeah, so, but you can't blame it on one thing, you can't, so we got to get the testing done to make sure. But this mineral royalty grant would be for the separation to divide it. So then the water volume would be up higher and the smell would be better. And then, that is what the purpose of it is. And some of it is for, if there's funding out there to get a SCADA system and a chlorine detector for the water part of the district. But it depends on how they allocate the money for the mineral royalty grants and stuff. And that's the purpose of it. And I was gonna bring this down to Becky and have her, if she needs a copy of it, because, you can get a copy of it, and whatever, but that's the intent. And
Go ahead. Sure.
So the reimbursement rate at 75%, that's gonna land on the district?
yeah, we'll try to,
Well, we're also working with WWC Engineering and the Water Development Commission, and we may be able to, hopefully, fingers crossed, secure matching funds through SRF or USDA.
and this is all part of the process.
Yes.
Your grant needs to be run through the clerk's office too. Even though it's to your district, it still has to be run.
right, I mean, that's Josh, the guy that's writing that, is supposed to be in contact with her, and he's a little sketchy on that.
Yeah, he
Because-
was supposed to have emailed me and I haven't heard from him yet, so.
Because if they don't run through the county on that end of it, it can jeopardize grants down the road. Campbell County got their hands slapped hard on a $500 grant to some little organization that they didn't know happened. They got busted in their audit that they weren't running those grants through.
Right,
So,
and,
yeah.
you see, and I asked that question to a couple of different, well, Keith with, for another part of the granting and, Jeff through WWC on this, for this grant. And he said, yeah, it's one of those things that the county commissioners and court, and you know, we get that saying, yeah, this is our intent, and it doesn't make the liability on you guys, the district, we allocate the funding and our budget for it.
It's more of an auditing thing for the state.
Right, it is. And we get audited, you know, anytime you put in for a grant, like you guys know, you audit yourself.
So does the treasurer then will have to set up an actual grant account line item for them?
It'd be just like we did with the solid waste district.
Yeah, so then the funds would have to come through us and then you would have to get them through, you would do the draws and everything through our office. So you'll have to check on that.
Yeah.
Because our auditor has to audit those because he has to report anything that the county receives over $750,000, it puts us in a different bracket.
Yeah, even if it's just a pass, it's just a pass through money, but it's for auditing purposes.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's what we did for the sewer department too.
I think you're doing the appropriate thing. You have your board of your district and you're coming for the board, for our approval on your grant that's gonna affect your district and it's not encumbering the rest of the taxpayers in the county. You have every right to do that, and I think it's appropriate. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to approve it today, moving forward with it.
Well, it's just the state, the mineral royalty grants, that's just a requirement. They require, you know.
It's just the
for the intent.
chairman's signature on, hold on, I have it.
But the WWC engineering did say that it would be good to have it for future grants as well.
Yeah.
It's
What's the time frame? How are you guys getting pushed up against the window tight now, or?
Well,
Not yet.
Not yet.
You know how these things,
Well, I was saying, either we could,
May 9th, we go down and.
we could see. So it would be better right now if we authorize the chairman's signature on this letter when it's prepared.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be.
If we did that now, that way you guys could have all your ducks in a row for when you go to the slip.
because he sent the application without this letter.
Mm.
And he should have waited until he had this letter, and he
Right,
didn't.
Josh did, yeah.
So it would be advantageous to you guys if we did it today.
So they could go ahead
Yes, it
and,
would be the benefit of the district.
so it's just a support letter for the Osage Sewer District and the Osage Water District to the State Land and Investment Board.
So can you put that in motion if I say so moved?
Sure.
So moved. So that way you guys can have this moving forward. So you're not putting you up against the time frame.
Thank you very much.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
A second for discussion.
Discussion.
Is it okay if we put you under new business instead of public comment for this motion?
Well, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Either.
Yeah. That's good with me too.
Okay.
So I have a motion that's been properly seconded. Done with discussion? Okay. All those in favor of passing this, what are you gonna call it, support letter? Support letter, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Passed.
Thank you very much.
That way you guys can keep moving.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Just on a further note, that's almost identical to what you would have to do within your district to help patch up some of those roads.
Right.
All right.
Well, we need to figure that out.
Yeah.
It's an avenue to look at.
In 2010, you guys became a improvement district.
Was it 2010 or 2011?
I think it was 2010. I asked Kara about it.
But that's where our gray area is on that. Because just because you become an improvement services doesn't automatically throw you that you own the whole roads in that. And if you
redid the other statutes on who's the legal overseer.
I'll look
That's-
through it.
Yeah, and that's the dispute is, and it's not really a dispute, we just need to move forward on our road. And then, because to make the road, when you do a water line or sewer line, you gotta make it as good as or better than. So, that's what we need, the verification for who owns it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your
I
time.
Thank you, guys.
have the letter done,
You do.
almost done,
Okay,
so I can have him do it if we get done here pretty soon. Because I typed it for you guys a long time ago.
great, thank you.
Is there any public comment? Go ahead.
So I missed getting on the agenda, but I just wanted to touch base with you. I went to that grant funding summit last week, and it was phenomenal. There was so much information and training in there, so I'm really thankful that you guys allowed me to go to that training. I think moving forward right now, they were really promoting, the state budget office was really advocating that people get a documented policies and procedures for the state, just kind of how we manage grants, what our policies are, and to actually have it documented for the state. They said they're seeing a lot of issues that could be prevented by that, and they are willing to put together a template that people can use, entities can use, and then kind of modify it to our needs, but just within accordance with federal guidances. So I thought maybe, I know we're probably not in a position to really start going after grants just yet, but I thought there's a lot of foundational work that can be started. So, and then some fund mapping, which they have hired Haggerty Consulting, and that is through the governor's office has funded that, and they're a consulting agent that's willing to help us, all of, everybody in the state to put together like fund mapping and what's the best avenue for us to obtain future funds. So I just wanted to kind of touch base with you on that, going forward. And it was really good. And I really recommend next year when they put this on, I think a few of you and Becky would really benefit from attending it.
Well, thank you for going. I appreciate you furthering your education to help the county. It does help. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Yeah,
See you, Kim.
thank you.
Commissioner's comment. You want to go ahead?
Last night I took that joint resolution that we signed 2 weeks ago to the city office, got their sign. I'll be in Upton tonight at 7 o'clock, getting Upton's signature on that. That way that consensus money that's left for solid waste will be earmarked to the 3 entities, so it won't get spent. They were all very happy about it, receptive to it.
Awesome.
The 30th and the 1st, I'll be in Saratoga at the WCCA's executive board meeting.
Nice.
So that's, if anybody's got any issues they want addressed down there, we can give them to me and we'll talk about them.
I had a conversation with Becky. I'm sure it got relayed, but I just want to touch bases. So the mayor did come, approached us. I'm sure you saw the email about doing some kind of a hospital district, but also she had the ambulance guy call and wanted to talk about doing a 50-50 split with ambulance. I put it out there. We're going to let her approach us at one of our meetings. She wanted to do a special meeting. I hope that everybody agreed with that. I put it out to Becky and she also agreed with that. I have a lot of concerns about that. I'm sure as every one of you guys do, but I wanted you guys at least to know that she did approach. We're already doing an increase to the ambulance. I'm not necessarily for an ambulance district either for a few reasons, but I wanted to at least keep you guys informed. Anything else on commissioners' comments? Meeting adjourned.